What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a Cincinnati Bengals 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Let's get into this. Below my face is my board. If you do see a plus on guys like Benjamin Morrison, those are pre-injury grades. I am no doctor, nor do I know how exactly guys are going to come off their injury, but I just want to give you guys the most up-to-date information, which is as of right before they got injured. So that's going to be the way based on their grades, but it is completely honest. I back it up with all 22 clips over on my X page. Feel free to go and follow me there. Let's get into this. We are going to be referencing our lads as well. As you guys can see, I've already been digging a little bit. And so this is a live mock draft. Let's see how the board falls. So we got a couple really solid fallers to us right now. KG, Josh Simmons. You can even talk about Walter Nolan here, but a lot of very good talent for us to discuss early on. Now, looking at the picks that we do have, there are no trades in these mock drafts, and feel free, again, to be able to call out in case PFF did not put in a particular pick, because I know for the Falcons, they ended up missing pick 204, so please just feel free to make that known. I do not run PFF, and so I know that they tried to do their best. If they slip up, well, hopefully that gets adjusted post-free agency, but we have right now 6 picks. Good range of picks, and nothing that's going to be too late to where we have to just pretty much pick what is left over. So we have a lot of decision-making power, including our first 4 picks right here, including, I think, our first 5. So that's going to be really solid. Now let's look at our depth chart, see where we're going to need to add. And so, again, feel free to complain all you want about these. I'm not sharing my cookies with ourlads.com, but quarterback-wise, obviously great. Running back, people have talked about that there is a legitimate potential chance if, somehow, some way, Ashton Genty slipping, you guys could end up trying to add based on the fact that you still thought there was some area for growth here. But I really love Chase Brown. I really want to see him take that bigger step. I want Zach Moss to be healthy, and I think you guys will be fine personally. Maybe you can take a swing on one a little bit later. But tight end wise, I do think that you could be looking at a tight end. This is luckily a solid tight end class for what you are looking for in that Mike Gesicki type. So we might be able to snipe one round 3 or even day 3. Tackle-wise, I love the fact that we have now gotten Amarius Mims, the contingency plan in place, and Trent Brown was there for the short run. Guard-wise, I'm pretty sure Cappy was just released today, even if he were on the team. Both, the guard spots are really bad. I love Matt Lee. He was a big my guy last year. I could see him fitting in one of the guard roles, but personally, I still see that as a massive vacancy. Tackle-wise, you got Orlando Brown Jr. here, which, is he going to be the longest term guy? I'm not 100% sure, but it is at least worth considering if we do want to take somebody at guard, maybe somebody who could fill in at tackle in case of injury. He's a very big dude. Receiver-wise, just tag T. Higgins, which is great. You got Jamar Chase, of course. That is the exact jersey that we are representing right now, is a Jamar Chase LSU jersey. And then in the slot, I do think we do need to upgrade there. You guys thought so with Jermaine Burton last year. Jermaine Burton, unfortunately, is showing that he is not necessarily the most reliable player on planet Earth. So on the offensive side, I could see guard or even 2 being worth selecting on top of that being a wide receiver and also a tight end. So room to improve, but this is the area Al Golden's going to be coming into and needing some help. So defensively, you got Sam Hubbard here. Not moved. Trey Hendrickson, of course, the stud himself. Myles Murphy is here, but again, you are going to be betting on Myles Murphy to be a true edge 2 when he hasn't necessarily shown it just yet. When you do bring in a whole entire new defensive system, not necessarily a guarantee. So you do want to invest in that edge room sometime, especially in this draft. Defensive interior wise, you will need to take somebody or re-sign somebody, because I love Chris Jenkins. Big fan of his game. Maybe not as a DI1, but you also have McKinley Jackson, who I thought was a solid pickup a little bit early, I would say. I do not need Lumen masks, I must admit, but I would say that, McKinley Jackson, I would not want as my DI2, but is still, not a horrible position to be in. I don't think this is going to be a one-off season fix for the entire defense. So pick and choose where you end up going and selecting your value. Linebacker-wise, pretty sure Jermaine Pratt requested a trade. Could end up looking in that realm as well, but there's got a lot of will linebackers that are going to be on the free agency market. I don't think Jermaine Pratt's going to get any sort of attention in that regard. So, going to be kind of tough shit for him. You look at the cornerback room. needs some help, right? Love Cam Taylor-Britt. He sometimes turns into burnt toast. Mike Hilton, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I would try to put DJ Turner or Dax Hill in the nickel because I think both of those guys would perform better there than they necessarily are currently safety-wise. Jordan Battle, good to see him at the top of the depth chart. I do not want Von Bell continuing to take snaps away from him. Geno Stone has been a massive disappointment, so a lot of room for growth here on the defense as well. Bottom line, you're a team that is really heavily carried by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, as you guys have seen, but you do have some bare bones working. Back to the mock draft. You look at the defensive line here, you got Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan. Both those guys could end up working in their own respective roles. The problem that I do have is that if you take Kenneth Grant, you are once again attaching yourself to a player that needs development. Kenneth Grant is a great high ceiling player with a really good motor, but Al Golden, it's his first year in the NFL. I don't trust y'all to develop defensive linemen at the rate that maybe you should. I think that, unfortunately, you look at the defensive line, the only defensive lineman that's really worth their weight in gold, which is Trey Hendrickson. That was acquired via free agency. So personally, I would be looking in that realm for that. Walter Nolan's a little bit more, I can't even call him a finished product because he still has so much room to work on, but the athleticism, the explosiveness, he's more of a gap penetrator, so that could have earlier return on investment. I'd be looking potentially in the edge room. I do think Michael is less of a development project than what people think, but it really does come down to this guard role as well. And I'm looking at Gray Zabel here, and we look at what's going to be available at pick 49. I do think defense is going to be a super big key. Offensive tackle, / guard, we could try to wait. I have not taken any of these interior offensive linemen that are probably going to be guards, like Belton could be a guard, Wyatt Milam, Jonas Savania. Those guys will be there at 81, so maybe we could take the foot off the gas. But I do want to mention Gray Zabel here, who I am a super fan of, and I don't even like small school prospects, if I'm just going to be real. He is a very, very good player with center versatility as well. I don't know exactly the lineage, but people who I trust really trust him to be able to play center, and he looked pretty solid in the Senior Bowl, taking some reps there. But I think the biggest issues to solve based on the value right now, because again, defensive interior, we have dudes down the board, right? At 154, who's going to be there? You talk about Riley Mills, who has some real potential, but you also talk about Zeke Biggers here, who has those 35-inch arms, Junior Tafuna, who had some really good reps, Thor Griffith, who I really, really like, Jared Harrison Hunt, talk about him at 194, a crazy athlete. So there are guys who I'd try to go after that route for, but I would say edge rusher is going to be tough to fill with a higher floor player. And then I know that based on how this board is developed, it's going to be a pain in the ass to try to draft one later on. So I personally do think that it's going to be of our best interest to go after the best player available, and that's going to be Michael Williams here. I do want to go after offensive line at 81, and I have my vision for what pick 49 is going to be based on Trev's board. So we're going to go Michael Williams here at 17. I've been one of the biggest, whoa, hello, that's a change of pace. I did not expect Xavier Watts to be here. We'll get to that in a second, but I've been one of Michael Williams' biggest critics, right? I had him in the past 100 on my board for the majority of this year, but the thing is, as he got healthier, he got better. It was not necessarily, as he added moves and stuff, he got better. I thought he already had the majority of the toolkit in place, and it was just refining the toolkit, which, I mean, to be fair, every single person on planet Earth, you and I both, could try to have, we can try and butcher every single pass rush move, and then we could end up saying that, we have that toolkit. But for Michael Williams, the more he got healthy, the more he ended up timing things properly, which to me felt like he was finally getting comfortable in his own skin, which is great to see. I have a ton of love for him, and again, if you guys find another edge that you prefer, by all means, do not worry about going after best player available. Tyler Booker being here, the real thing is we could have went after Zabel and then went to Malau here, but my vision at number 49 was to go after a player Golden has coached before, whether that would have been Watts, which I did not expect to slip. I was actually looking pretty heavily into Benjamin Morrison here, which he might honestly fall to 81 at the rate that we're going. But Xavier Watts adding a free roaming safety that could work really well also with his former defensive coordinator after Geno Stone has been kind of a lost cause, could be the best case scenario for us. again, I want to see if there's anybody else who would be an absolute steal here. In retrospect, we could have ended up going back and, going after defensive interior for y'all, but or we could have ended up going after interior offensive line. Again, not going to take Tyler Booker. I just cannot see him slipping to 48. It's a disrespect for reality. And I respect Travis Board. I don't think this is very predictive. This is representative of what he thinks exactly based on the player value. So we're actually going to go Xavier Watts here. I want to be able to get Al Golden, former Notre Dame defensive coordinator, one of his guys, and get someone who has that ball hawking ability over the middle. So who fell to 81? This is the question of the day. All the offensive linemen I was looking for, and unfortunately, we did not end up being able to select the corner that I was looking for in Benjamin Morrison. He slipped to 67. It was my goal to try to do that. Did not end up coming to fruition, but regardless, offensive line is next, right? We can look at the guards. We can look at the tackles. I do think that we all know that there's a lot of guard and / tackles at this point. Wyatt Milam, I think Anthony Belton won't be here. Wyatt Milam does feel like a really, really solid get at this point. Jonas Savania tested out well as well. And he's also had some really solid reps at the guard spot. He also has played guard before. Wyatt Milam, I believe, has been a left tackle the whole time, and he has. There's a lot of love for Wyatt Milam at the moment because it got a little bit of prospect fatigue. You look at Savania and the time when he played guard, he did have some issues there, but I really do like the potential of where he's at. I would just say there's enough projects going on right now. I would prefer to go after potentially Wyatt Milam or Anthony Belton. Jared Wilson would be a great shout out. Ended up testing out phenomenally well. You can't really go wrong here. Maybe you could roll the dice and see at 118 if one of these guys fall, but I'd prefer to not continue rolling the dice on our quarterback. The beauty of this mock draft is that you guys get to select whichever one of these players that you want at this point. I'm going to go after Wyatt Milam for the sake of keeping things fresh. I have not done that in a hot minute. He's going to be a tackle that transitions to guard, 32-inch arms, and honestly he has really good core power, and he is still learning the position, but he was a polished left tackle, and I think that the learning curve is going to not be as steep as what I would project. At number 118, we are back. And I honestly would project Noel Williams to be a really good get at this point. Noel Williams is a very solid corner. He didn't test out incredibly well in terms of 40-yard dash. It was just above 4.5. But for Noel Williams, he has some really solid press reps that makes me feel very, very, very comfortable with him fitting into very similar styles of corner that Al Golden had over at Notre Dame. So we've already addressed an edge spot in a defensive back spot, but I really do want to look back at this list here and end up seeing how bad that boundary corner spot is. Again, we want to push DJ Turner or Dax Hill into the spot. I do know Josh Newton had some really good reps. Shout out to Josh Newton, but you cannot survive with 2 or 3 corners. You have to have legitimate, solid play, and I do not trust DJ Ivey. That's just me. Do not trust him. And so right now we have Geno Stone kind of kicking it back, which is good. We have Jordan Battle, Xavier Watts, and then we could end up having he would probably end up developing behind Josh Newton as well, which is good because Josh didn't test out, if I'm not mistaken, incredibly well either. And I could end up seeing Noel Williams having a really bright future here at pick number 118. Again, taking a quick look at what we did, we addressed the interior of the offensive line. Now, we could look at tight end. Gunnar Helm is dead to me. He tested out so horribly to where I would be really... you can look at a Rondé Gadsden. That Gadsden's actually a really solid replacement for Gesicki, and I'm going to leverage that 100%. Where's Gadsden on his board? 216. I might have to roll the dice to see if he makes it to 194 and just pray. But I think Noel Williams is perfect because I still want to potentially get a receiver. This is a really solid receiver class, especially for the slot too. You can end up even getting Juice Wells, but Caden Prather would be super fun. Chim DK, I know I can get his ass at number 154. So I feel very comfortable with getting 2 weapons with our final picks. We addressed offensive line here, and I think this is a great opportunity to throw a bone to Noel Williams, who I think could really be coached up by Al Golden very well, and I think he'd fit extremely well. The press man reps were awesome, and I would love to see Al Golden continue to develop Noel Williams, who, if I'm not mistaken, had 7 interceptions on the year. So also another ball hawk there with Xavier Watts. Now at 154, who ended up falling to us? Ooh, Kyle Williams fell here. I don't like deploying Kyle Williams all that often. Like, I try my best not to take him too much. And I've only taken him, I think, once before. It's once or twice. So I feel very comfortable on averaging once or twice every five videos because, again, you got to keep things fresh. You could go RJ Oben and just get some depth there with his former DC, but I don't want to go overboard. But I think Kyle Williams is one of the best players in this class, and it's super underrated. One of my favorite players by far. He is a stud, and I think he ran in the 4.4s as well, which is great because he's great after the catch as well. Like, you can't really go wrong. Again, I mentioned some other players that I would absolutely adore, like Chim DK, who ran in the 4.3s. But Kyle Williams is also built to play the slot, and I love that because you can have Yosevos in the mix, but you don't really have that guy who is built to play after the catch, in my opinion, the same way that you could really, really benefit from having Kyle Williams on this team. So I'm going to go after Kyle Williams there at 154 and pray Oronde Gadsden slips to us at 194 because that would be a dream, and he does. Oronde Gadsden's phenomenal. I think he's above 236 now. I think he's in the 250 range, but he ended up testing out, forgetting exactly what his 40 time is, but we all know the 40s were not good for any of the tight ends, but he is super duper fluid. Got to see him here in Dallas in person. Even got ran into by him, which is like, hey, I can tell. He's a well-built dude. But jokes aside, he's a really fluid route runner. He's not a very good blocker, but honestly, I think he's a really solid Mike Gesicki replacement where you can add him in. Could go Luke Lachey, pair him back up with Eric All as well. Feel free to choose that instead, but I do think that, based on this is going to be a pretty solid balance for defense and offense here. We're going to go Oronde Gadsden. And again, I'm saying go free agency for that defensive interior player. Or technically, if you want to go free agency for an edge rusher, you talk about, like, let's just say Josh Sweat, you want him on a short-term deal, plug and play with Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan or any, like, Tyleik Williams there at 17. Feel free to do that, but this is going to be how it ends up shaking out. We fixed the defensive front with Michael Williams, and again, going after a free agent weapon, or again, you could end up flipping it, going Tyleik Williams, as well as a free agent edge. And then we also ended up addressing the secondary with Xavier Watts and Noel Williams, who I think both are great fits for that Al Golden secondary. Talk about interior offensive line here with Wyatt Milam and hoping that Matt Lee can end up taking over as one of those other guard spots. And then we ended up addressing weaponry with Kyle Williams and Oronde Gadsden with excellent value there. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and showing the love that you always do. See you on the far side. Peace.